So many baby hairs. Is it breakage or is it new growth? Either way, they are unruly. Hi everyone, and welcome to another one of those millions and millions of mini egg recipes that you're going to find on the internet this Easter. Oh! I promised myself that I would not use mini eggs again for another Easter recipe, but I broke. I admit it. I love mini eggs. Easter is mini eggs. Get it together, Tash. Today we are making chocolate egg Easter bread. I have to specify chocolate egg because actually Easter bread is already a thing. It's a traditional bread in Italy, Portugal, Greece, probably a lot of places in Europe. And the original Easter bread is an enriched bread that is baked with real eggs in it. So of course I stuck chocolate eggs in mine instead. The bread recipe I'm using for this is basically my challah recipe, but with a bit of butter added to it instead of oil, just to give it even more richness. And you know what, in fact I love it so much I might just make my challah with butter from now on instead of oil. And I jazzed up my Easter bread not only with chocolate mini eggs that were baked with the dough, but also with some icing and some sprinkles, some extra chocolate eggs, because why not? It actually ended up looking a bit like a festive challah for Purim, which is a Jewish festival. So you've got a little bit more fusion in there too. And who doesn't love it when food brings people together? And if you don't want to fuss with all of the sweet toppings, you can just make the bread. It's a lovely bread, tastes super well, super fluffy, makes great sandwiches too. And you don't have to make a long braid and curl it into a loop. You can make one fat braid and bake it like a normal challah. But then it wouldn't be chocolate egg Easter bread, it would be challah. Either way, this recipe is delicious. It's actually quite easy. Don't be afraid of bread. I used to be afraid of bread, but now I make it all the time. And let's go to the kitchen and see how it's done. First, we're going to wake some yeast up. I'm going to use 2 teaspoonfuls of dry active yeast. This is not easy bake yeast, dried active yeast. Or you can use 10 grams of fresh yeast. Both work in the same way. Going to give it a bit of breakfast with 1 teaspoonful of caster sugar, and I'm going to stir in 50 millilitres of warm milk. Future Tash voice over here. I actually have 100 millilitres in the pan and I thought I'd add it in halves, but I actually ended up adding all 100 millilitres. And we're just going to leave this for a couple of minutes until it starts to bubble. It's alive! Now as you can see, it is very bubbly. It has woken up, and if it doesn't do this, your yeast is dead. Sorry about the drilling, by the way. Even more building works, unfortunately. So here we have 500 grams of strong white bread flour. Going to add a teaspoonful of salt. This is a full teaspoonful because we're making a lot of bread. 4 eggs. 50 grams of unsalted butter, which is softened at room temperature. 3 tablespoonfuls of honey. And of course our wonderfully foamy, alive yeast mixture. Now what I usually do is I grab a wooden spoon, start stirring until it starts coming together, and then I transfer to my hands and knead for 15 to 20 minutes. But I have a fancy new tool. I have a hand mixer with dough hooks, and this doesn't do all the work technically, but it does help bring that dough together and will save you about 50 minutes of kneading time. You'll still have to knead a little bit at the end to get the dough really stretched and get that gluten working, but this basically cuts your work by more than half. And if you look at my previous bread videos, I spend a lot of time kneading manually. So let's use these dough hooks now, but again, if you don't have these, don't worry, you can do this all by hand. Just going to stop for a second to scrape down the side, but wow, that is already amazing. Do a little scrapey, get all those ingredients in, and continue. So this is our dough done, and it's starting to get stretchy, but it's still not at window stage, but it's getting there though. So now this is when we transfer to our good old hands. We're going to lightly flour our surface, and we're going to knead our dough straight on here. A bit more flour on top, and let's get kneading. And that took significantly less time. Look at how smooth it already is. It's fighting back, nice and bouncy, and no longer sticky. And it also stretches out super thinly to form a little window, which is what I meant by window stage, that gluten is good and activated. Just going to shape it into a ball now. And I'm going to pop this into a lightly oiled bowl so it won't stick. And I'm going to cover it with cling film. And now I'm going to let this proof for an hour or two until it doubles in size. It might take you a bit less time, might take you a bit more. It depends how warm the room that you're proofing your dough in is. So the warmer your room, the faster it will rise. So see you when it's doubled in size. It's been an hour and woohoo, check this out. Ooh, bit steamy. Now my favourite part, punching that dough down. Right, let's get it back from the bowl. And now we're going to shape it. For this we're going to need 3 equal-ish pieces. You can weigh them out, but I never bother. Those are about equal size. Now I'm going to roll these into sausages and I'm going to braid them. To do it, squish 3 of the ends together, well, swish 1 end together, and then we're going to go from one side, bring it to the centre, and then you take the other side and bring it into the centre, and then you take the other side again and bring it into the centre, and you just do this again and again. And when you get to the end, you just squish these bits together. Like this. Just smush them all up. Fold them underneath. Now we're going to take this over here to our lined baking tray. Here we are. We're going to just create a ring of bread. Just like this. Squish the ends together too. Don't worry if it looks a bit messy. We are going to be covering it in icing anyway by the end of this. Okay, now we need to proof this a second time, so I'm going to cover this with that same piece of cling film, which I've actually oiled just to make sure it won't stick, and I'm going to leave this to proof again till it's almost doubled in size, maybe not as much doubled in size, so this will take about half an hour to an hour. The second proof always doesn't take as long as the first one, so just keep an eye on it. Again, it will depend on how warm or hot or cold your room is. When you're nearly ready to bake, preheat your oven to 180 degrees C. Now I'm going to prepare an egg wash for my bread, so I've got 1 egg here, I'm going to beat it up, and I'm going to add just a splash of milk. Beat it up again, set this aside, and reveal our glorious bread. Look at this monster. Let's unveil it. Lovely. Now I'm going to brush this egg wash mixture right over. And now I have some chocolate Easter eggs, some mini ones. I actually do have branded mini eggs here, but these ones are actually a little bit pale in colour. See what I mean? And this colour will wash out even more when it's baked, so I'm going to leave these for the top to decorate afterwards, maybe, I'm not sure yet. And I've got some off-brand supermarket own brand ones here. These were, I believe, from Marks & Spencer's. What I'm going to do is we're going to push these straight into the dough. Make sure you go deep, because these will try and pop out as the bread bakes. There we go. Wow, the dough is already trying to push them out the more it rises. Now we're going to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes. Joke's on me, because not only did the colour of the eggs not stay, but the chocolate eggs exploded. Never mind, it still looks absolutely amazing. So this is still super hot. Let's let it cool down completely. Now we're going to make a simple glaze with 100 grams of icing sugar and up to a tablespoonful of water. We may not use it all, let's see. You want a pretty thick icing. Nice, now we're ready to decorate. Now all I'm going to do is drizzle the icing all over, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun with some sprinkles. And I like to do it quarter by quarter because the icing actually dries pretty fast. Dot on some mini eggs too, and I've dipped it in a little bit of icing just to give it a little bit of a stronger sticking action. And we're just going to carry on until we're satisfied with the overall look. Wow, that looks like a spring explosion. Right, I'm going to let this dry just a little bit, and then we're going to slice into it. It's so pretty! Look at that detail. Or lack of detail, it's a bit slapdash. It's both extremely detailed and not detailed at all at the same time. Very messy, but in a super pretty way. I love that glossy shine that egg wash gives the bread too. Got to cut into it now. I'm going to cut a big chunk. Oh, lovely. Look at the fluffy crumb on that. It's so fluffy! I couldn't resist doing a bit of a slow motion squeeze and a tear so you can see just how soft and fluffy it is. Beautiful bread. Easter bread. I better get a plate for this, it's a bit crummy. Not crummy as in bad, crummy as in, oh, there goes a crumb. Literally. It's not really the crumbs, to be honest, it's the sprinkles that keep coming off. Get a load of the fluffiness on that. I do love a good enriched bread. Right, I'm going to take a bite, so cheers. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an egg, put it out of my mouth, and what a treat! The bread's already a little bit sweet because of the honey we've got in there. And with that extra icing on the top and of course the chocolate, it just makes it extra special. Now I'm getting sprinkles everywhere. So there you have it, chocolate egg Easter bread. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe video and I hope you will join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full written recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, follow me on Instagram, I am tashcakes.taste, and find me on TikTok too. I'm also tashcakes, but my handle is @foodandslowmotion. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more, give this video a like if you liked it to help other people find it, comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you guys next time. Be good, be nice, and have a good week. Oh no, did I spend the entire last part of that video with the breadcrumb in my hair?